Good morning, and to our friends joining us abroad, good evening. I'm your host, Christy Adamfever. Welcome to Mirage Talks. Today, we welcome Head of Sales and Business Development, Itai Manor, to touch on the topic, networking and why. Itai, thank you so much for joining us today. Let's get started.
Perfect. Thanks a lot. All right. So really happy to be here. Thanks everyone for joining in. And I see that more or less 50% of the people opened up their cameras. So if anyone else feels the urge to open up the camera, don't be shy. It'll be much, much nicer. Also, we don't have a lot of people, so it's amazing because we can make it an interactive session. And I will share screen in a moment, and then we can go ahead and start. But I will just say a few words about what we're going to hopefully speak about today. And again, as I mentioned, I want to hear if there are any questions, any feedback, anything at all. You can write in the chat, or you can just open up your mic and ask away. But what we're going to speak about today is a session that's called Networking with Why, which is essentially how we are connecting what we're building, what we're doing, what we want to accomplish with the way we network actively and the way we're going to build our future network according to what we're interested in accomplishing by leveraging it. So I'm going to share screen in a second, introduce myself, and then we're going to speak about networking with why. We're going to show examples. Let me know once you see my screen. All right. Just wait a second. All right, perfect. Cool. So networking with why, how to build and maintain the network that will boost your startup and your future career and future success. The idea today is to speak about building our future network and how we are thinking about building a network and we are starting a startup, for example. But mostly it's going to be also about practical tips that everyone can use hopefully today or tomorrow to be actively pursuing your future network. Okay. Sorry, one sec. Okay, so a bit about networking. Anyone has heard about Dale Carnegie? Yeah. Okay, so Dale Carnegie actually wrote a book that's called How to Make Friends and Influence People. He was one of the most famous people in history that spoke and gave actually talks about networking. And he also mentioned that networking is a mix, okay? It's a mix of art and science. It's a skill that you can acquire, but it's also a form of art that you may have or may not have, may possess or may not possess. Regardless, networking is a skill that you can actively develop and work on, and that can eventually, hopefully, is going to help you get anywhere you want in life and speak to anyone you're interested in pursuing. Okay, so Robert Kiyosaki is the author of Rich Dad Poor Dad, actually mentioned, and he wrote in his book, the richest people in the world look for and build networks. Everyone else looks for work, which is something I strongly believe in. Almost every opportunity that I've ever received in my life actually got to me through networking, through someone I knew, someone I met, someone I worked with. And I will explain a bit about myself, who am I, what I'm doing, how I got into networking and all that. So my name is Itai. Throughout the past 11, 12 years, I've been doing different sales and business development roles. I've been working in companies in the Israeli tech, such as Sisense, for example, which is a big BI and data company. And the last company I worked for was called Payam. I was actually one of the first employees. I helped the companies reach a couple of millions in ARR, and I joined as one of the first employees. Besides that, I've also been helping and doing consulting gigs for a bunch of startups. And probably the most interesting fact is that I also own the bar in Tel Aviv, which is what usually gets the most feedback, but that's really like in a nutshell about myself. I've been doing networking and doing connections between people throughout, I would say, my entire life, from age 12 when I started organizing the football that we played in the neighborhood. Which bar? Good question. So Stacks. It's called Stacks. It's right next to Cicchetti, if anyone knows Tel Aviv. So it's right across from Cicchetti. But yeah, so everything in my life is around networking, people, connecting tech to people, connecting people. And even nowadays, I'm doing anywhere in between like 10 to a couple of tens, maybe even 100 connections a month. Sometimes even more than that between people. It could be angels to startups, could be companies. And I've been doing sales for most of my adult life, I would say, by mostly connecting people. Okay, so I understood that most of the people here are entrepreneurs. So I actually gave this talk at a conference I hosted with a friend for entrepreneurs. There were more or less 100 folks in the crowd. We actually posted a survey speaking about the needs of entrepreneurs, and we asked people what they came here to accomplish. So I don't know if the people in this room are trying to pursue the same things, but I would say this graph more or less gives the variety of choices that entrepreneurs and founders usually need. So it's either find a co-founder, meet VCs, maybe consult on a topic, maybe invest in a startup if you're also an angel investor, or maybe find an idea if you're super early stage. And I claim that all of these topics can be covered from people that you've already met in your life. You worked with, you went to school with, whatever, your best friend, doesn't matter, or people that you can actively meet if you just do the right things and work and schedule time and efforts in doing active networking. Okay, so this is what we're going to hopefully accomplish today. Again, I want to keep this session super interactive. So I already introduced myself. We're going to speak about future path and future success, how it looks like, how usually I would say people are actively going to found the startups. Then we would speak about the challenges of meeting new people. Why are people afraid of it? And then we're going to speak about a concept that's called anticipate the shit. Okay. And then what we're going to do is speak about how we can overcome these obstacles to networking. And throughout this entire session, I'm going to give a lot of practical tips, people that have worked for myself and for my close friends. And I think really, if you can just ask any questions that you want about specific examples that you have, it might help the entire crowd here. Okay, so let's jump into the more interesting introduction about myself, okay, which is not my resume, but actually what I accomplished by leveraging my network or by building a network. Okay, so I lived in Berlin for 6 months and I hosted a party. I love hosting parties. So I hosted a party of 200 people, only from people that I met throughout this time in Berlin. As I said, I'm doing more or less 50 connections a week. And I'm also measuring the success of a connection, how it looks like. I'm doing follow-ups and all that. I don't believe in business cards and conferences. If you do, challenge me on it, but just throw them away before you go to your next conference. You don't need them. We'll speak about it in a few words. I'm the main go-to guy for, do you know anyone that knows X or Y in my group of friends, and a lot of people that work in tech in Israel. And I own the bar, as I said, for 7 years. We got people that actually got married in the bar, got divorced because of the bar. No, I'm kidding. But yeah, this is just some of my more interesting resume that's about what I accomplished from networking. Okay, so we're all trying to get somewhere. Hopefully, there are interesting photos here of Biden, Taylor Swift. But anyone, a lot of people that I know are now actually thinking about what they want to accomplish, what they want to do about their lives, about their career. I would say that mostly in the past couple of years, so COVID and the war in Israel actually caused a lot of triggers for people to actually think about what they're doing in life. I know that I see it in my family, in my group of friends. A lot of people are actively challenging themselves and thinking about what they're interested in accomplishing in their life. And I think these times of war, times of uncertainty, are actually the best times to challenge yourself, to think, to make a change, and to take smart, bold decisions. And we can accomplish these things not only by looking inside, but also by looking outside and understanding who can help us actually in our group of friends. So again, how does the path of a founder looks like? Okay, so again, normally it could be someone that works in sales or product or marketing or engineering. Usually they work in one company or two companies for a couple of years. Then they get promoted to a director or a VP level, and then they go and co-found a company. Obviously, there are a million different ways. It could be directly from school. It could be a founder immediately after the first job, but this is kind of like an average path, I would say. So throughout this, So throughout these years, what we want to accomplish, so we're thinking about what we want to do next. We're thinking about professional development. We're thinking about exploring ideas, taking late meetings, working nights. We aspire to find the perfect co-founder and the perfect VCs and the perfect ideas. And we're working hard on developing our skills for that. And usually, so these are the steps, again, more or less. So find a co-founder, raising funds and meeting with VCs, find a consultant maybe, find clients, find employees, find an ideas. Usually, if you're starting a startup, it's one of those. Now, before we jump in, I want to give you some numbers, okay? Some numbers on founding a startup, on getting to the first clients, on finding employees, finding talent. But before maybe we go there, so maybe by raising a hand or by sending a message, who here is a founder or an entrepreneur? Okay, so Gal, Danny. What about the shadows people? The people that are in behind the closed doors. So Ishai, Sandeep, Mark, Leo. If you can write. Okay.
גם וגם.
גם וגם. Okay. Cool. All right, so more or less, I would say up until this point, like half of the group. Okay, exec leader, tech. That's amazing. Okay, cool. So this session is mostly for founders, but we are going to give examples from other areas as well. So some numbers, okay? So companies with a strong employer brand receive actually 50% more qualified applicants, okay, according to LinkedIn. A strong employer brand means that you're actually posting online, doing activities online, promoting a social brand, okay? These companies actually get 50% more. Another another interesting information is that usually for people, it takes anywhere in between 3 to 6 months, on average 5 months. Now it could be even a bit longer in Israel. It takes 5-6 months to find a job, usually, okay? Also, and this is a super interesting number for me, okay? 60% of the jobs out there are not listed online. So these are positions that you can only actively find if you know someone who knows someone. Okay, so 60% of the positions out there are word of mouth, and you can only find them through networking. And something that Elon Reshef, the co-founder of Gong, said, he said all the first dozen customers was some sort of personal connection, either from Amit, from the CEO, or from himself. Okay, so a lot of the first thing that you will do as a founder, whether it's clients, employees, investors, consultants, whatever, you will have to get to it through networking, through people that you know, or people that you will hopefully know within the next couple of months to couple of years, once you know that you're going to build a company. Okay. Okay, so okay. So normally, once people start reaching out to new clients, they would start sending out cold emails or cold LinkedIn messages. And I've heard about hundreds of these cases where investors would just get a cold LinkedIn approach or a cold email. It could be an investor, it could be an employee, it could be a customer. But what should you do instead? Okay, instead of just sending a cold email, you can do a concept that's called, again, anticipate the shit. What is that? What is anticipate the shit? I will give a short example about myself in PAM that will help you understand what I mean. When I started in PAM, again, a fintech company, before PAM was working in a big company that was called Sisense. I was doing business development work for Sisense. And then I joined PAM as the third employee. Omer, the CTO and co-founder, was actually a good friend of mine from the army, from the Navy. And he gave me a chance. He gave me a chance. At that point, a couple of years ago, I literally sold nothing in my life yet. Okay, I haven't sold any products yet, only like small SMBs. I never led a team. I never built goals for a team. I never hired and trained salespeople. And I needed to do all of these things in a matter of a couple of months to a couple of years. Okay, so I had no help for a couple of years inside. So I had to get help outside. Okay, I was just into the deep water and I needed to learn how to swim. So what I actually did in PAM, again, the concept that's called anticipate the shit, and I did it to my network and the network that I built. I surrounded myself with people that were already 2 to 4 years ahead in my career, according to what I wanted to do and what I wanted to build. So if I wanted to build a sales team, I surrounded myself with sales trainers and sales leaders that could actually help me build the sales goals and could help me actually do forecast on my deals and help me understand what deals I'm going to close this quarter, this month, this year. Okay, so I surrounded myself with 3 people. 2 of them were actually connections that I knew from before, and 1 was actually someone that I just reached out to, just like that from LinkedIn. I asked for help and they said yes. Okay, so this is the concept. The concept of anticipate the shit is surrounding yourself with people that have already walked in the steps of your future growth and your future career and can help you determine and can help you understand how the next steps of your career, your startup life, your whatever is going to look like. So if you're working in sales and you are now a sales leader in a small company, you want to surround yourself with sales leaders of a much larger company. If you're a young founder, and maybe you've started a first company or a second company, you want to surround yourself with someone who has already sold the company and more advanced founders. You also want to surround yourself with, for example, maybe VCs, but you also want to, for example, surround yourself with people with industry knowledge and that have more experience in the industry that you're going to found your startup in. Okay, so as we said, anticipate the shit, surround yourself with people that can help you in your startup or your future careers. It could be current founders, mentors, future clients, future employees. If you start building a network for founding a startup a couple of months to a couple of years before you actually start your startup, it will be much, much, much easier when you actually start it. Okay, so again, I spoke about the people that I surrounded myself once I worked at PAM. But once I left PAM, which was December 23, I actually surrounded myself with people that are doing sort of the same things that I'm doing right now. Right now, what I'm doing, I'm building the largest sales community in Israel. I'm also doing fractional sales roles in a couple of companies, and I'm consulted to a couple of startups in go-to-market. So before taking a leap, before taking a jump and just leaving the company, I surrounded myself with people that have already built companies, built communities, and that are actually doing right now fractional sales roles in my life. Okay, so again, just an example, and we're going to speak way more in depth about how we're going to actually build this network. But let's speak about getting the first customers, because this is a very big topic. So mostly, okay, getting your first customers are going to be through former colleagues. This is based on research, and I'll show it to you in a couple of minutes. So former colleagues, but you can first customers, instead of just sending out LinkedIn messages, emails, whatever, you can actually map out your former colleagues. I'm going to show you some example, but you can map them out on Navigator, or on a tool that's called GetDex. Heard about GetDex? Yes, no, yes, okay. So GetDex is actually a personal CRM that you can connect to your Google Calendar, LinkedIn, Gmail, Facebook, Instagram, anything. GetDex can actually help you map out all of your different connections, and you can start building this way your personal network, your personal CRM. So how do we get the first customers? Again, just an example. You can connect to former colleagues that are now working in your ICP target companies. You can ride on investors' contacts, whether it's angel investors or VCs. You can actually map out their network on Sales Navigator, LinkedIn, maybe even Facebook. Maybe you can even ask them. And the best thing you can do is start hanging out more in your ICP communities. So for instance, when I started working in PAM, I started selling a fintech company to VP Finance and CFOs in Israel and the US. And what I did to understand the world better, I signed up to a bunch of CFO newsletters, and I started joining actively CFO communities. I started going to meetups in Israel, for example, and PAM started flying me out, for instance, to meetups in the States as well. So I started going to the same events that my CFO target clients actually went to, and I joined WhatsApp groups, Telegram groups, LinkedIn, Facebook groups of my target persona, okay, of my CFOs. All right. Before jumping into real life examples, any questions about what I said right now? Any feedback? Maybe you want to share a personal challenge of landing a customer, of getting to a VC, or anything at all? And if not, I'll continue. Let me know. All right. Cool. So let's talk about some examples, okay? Because most people have LinkedIn, they're using LinkedIn, but they don't understand, for instance, how to reach out to someone they haven't spoken to in a couple of years, and reach out again, connect this bridge, and build a connection. So here's an example. A couple of months ago, I did a consultancy gig for a company that's called Clarity. What Clarity does, really in a few words, because it's quite interesting, they actually help salespeople and sales leaders navigate complex deal cycles and understand how the company they're selling to are actually making their decision of buying or not buying solutions. Okay, so Adam Ferris is a VP of sales. He has a lot of experience. He's based in San Francisco. And Adam Ferris actually rejected me for an account executive role in a company that's called Duda a couple of years ago. So what I did here, I actually reached out to Adam when I started working in Clarity. And I started quite simple, right? I started by saying, not sure, remember I interviewed with Duda some years ago. You guys made the right decision not to take me back then. I wasn't ready for an account executive role. Okay, so this is completely something that you wouldn't expect when someone is reaching out to you blank on LinkedIn. Normally you would expect like a sales pitch or something like that. But mentioning that I know that they made the right decision not taking me back then, making me appear different than other people reaching out to him again. Also, it makes me appear more friendly, and it shows him that we actually know each other. Okay, so once I opened up and I used some sort of like an icebreaker, I can jump into maybe what I want, okay? Because when you're reaching to someone as busy as Adam, you need to be decisive, precise, and to the point. So I'm working in a company that's called Clarity now. We're building a platform for salespeople and leaders to help navigate deals with better forecast accuracy. Again, quite simple, very straightforward and to the point, and very soft action item. I'd love to show you what we're doing. Normally, I wouldn't go to I would love to show you what we're doing, but because I know Adam, I would send this. Again, this is very soft. It's not, let's schedule a demo at time X, or schedule a demo at time Y, or let's jump on a meeting. It's a very, very soft, easy KPI action item that you can easily say yes to. I'd love to show you what we're doing. Okay, all right, Itai, happy to meet. Glad to hear from you. Send me your details. Okay. Ido Goldberg. Sorry about the Hebrew, but I know there are a lot of Hebrew speakers here as well. So Ido actually started with me in high school. And we haven't really spoken since. I know who he is and he knows me, but we haven't really been friends, okay, ever. So I will translate it to English. Ido said, "Hey Ty, what's up? I'm doing like a discovery process for a solution in the sales tech, and I think that I can learn so much from your perspective. Ready to chat maybe in the next couple of days, okay? Or do you want to chit chat, like something like that, something within the realms of chit chat in the next couple of days? So why did this work? Okay, he wrote to me in Hebrew, which is more personal. He actually knows me from a couple of years back. He said what's up, which is softer than something official, something formal. And he said, I can learn so much from your perspective, which is boosting my ego. Always important when you're reaching out to someone, okay? And do you want to chit chat in the next couple of days? Again, super short, soft action item. It's not about showing me a demo, scheduling an hour or something like that. Okay, maybe the last example. I started working in a company that's called Countit a couple of months ago. Countit actually helps cinema chains in the world make smarter, more educated decisions on the movies that they show. And they can help them optimize their movies occupancy based on data on their competitors. So for instance, we help Cinema City or Yes Planet understand what the other competitors in the market are doing. It's a very big business, for instance, in the States or the UK. Right now, we're live in the Spanish market, Israeli market, and exploring the UK market. So I saw this guy that's called Mikkel Hecht Hansen. He's head of BI in a company that's called Nordisk Film, which is one of the largest cinema exhibitors in Scandinavia, in the Nordics. I actually saw that Mikkel is connected to Evan and to Yoav. Evan and Yoav actually worked with me. It's in Sisense a couple of years back, and I knew that they were targeting the Nordics and UK market. Okay, so what I did is I mentioned to Mikkel that I saw that he is connected to Evan and Yoav, probably from Sisense days. Again, I assume that they sold to him or tried to sell to him. So I made it appear as if we are not connecting out of the blue. I actually know someone who knows him. And then I explained, okay, big cinemas like Cinema City in Israel leverage our tech to increase revenue on ticket sales and maximize their weekly progress by getting full visibility of their competitors and market performance. Again, quite short, 2 sentences. I'd love to chat and see how we can help you push and optimize the movies. Soft action item, I'd love to chat. Okay, nothing complex, very short message, not introducing myself in a lot of words. He didn't answer on the 29th. I sent another message on the 30th, just Mikkel, question mark, that's it. But you can also send just a question mark. He said, yes, we can take a talk, but we're not at the moment looking for additional systems. Eventually, we are now very close to hopefully signing them soon. Okay, so these are just a few examples that you can use. Again, what's important here is try to find a mutual connection somehow, someone that knows them, maybe through a friend, maybe through a VC that you work with, something like that. Someone that will validate your claim, and you will not get out to them. You will not reach out to them out of the blue, but also make the message appear very, very short. Explain exactly why you're reaching out to them, why right now, and what's the action item. Okay, and don't be afraid to follow up. I'm very assertive on LinkedIn. I would follow up one day after. Normally, people would follow up 2 to 3 to 4 days after. But what's really mind-blowing is that 70 to 80% of the people are actually not following up on a first message on LinkedIn. Okay, which is crazy. Because most people or like some people are not actively ignoring messages on LinkedIn. They're just senior, they're executives, and they're getting like tons of messages. They're just missing them. So they're not necessarily doing it on purpose. And yet people sometimes feel very uncomfortable following up. Okay. Okay, and this is again just an example how some of the largest companies that exist today have actually reached out their first 10 clients. Okay, so you can see how many of these companies, again, very famous companies that I'm sure a lot of people here know, how these companies got to their first 10 clients. So you can see that some of them indeed got to their first clients from from cold outbound, but the vast majority of these companies actually got to the first clients from either personal network or investors network or community. Okay. And it's very, very crucial that you map out your entire network and that you build your network accordingly to what you want to accomplish. And basically, I believe that the answer to every question that you have is normally hidden in your network, in your current network or your future network. And these are just some examples. So people that are important in my life right now, and we actually kept in touch for a long time. So Omer, we served together. I joined this company, Payam, as one of the first employees. We kept in touch. I also spoke to Omer while I was working in another company. He constantly mentioned that he wants to start a company, and we kept close. We kept a good connection. Liad Levy, she's a good friend of mine, one of my best friends right now. She was actually introduced to me by a mutual friend. Liad was a controller at Procter & Gamble, and she met me to maybe find a job as a controller in Payam, my previous company. And we actually managed to shift her career together to sales engineer. Then I actually managed to bring her with me to another company that I worked with, Clarity. Tomer Yehudian gave his first lecture in my bar. He actually reached out to me cold on LinkedIn, and he gave a very interesting lecture about sport tech. Now he's one of my best friends, and he actually also reached out to me to speak at one of the courses that he makes in Ben Gurion University. So a lot of the times the question to any need is in your network, and you have two options. You either build your network from scratch. We're going to speak about that a lot today. Or we can maintain the network that we have. Okay, so you've already met the right person for what you're seeking, and then you just need to make sure that you keep in touch, maintain the network, maintain the partnership, the relationship, and then you reach out at the right time. Okay. Okay, so these are the main fears. Again, usually, and these fears usually cause people to not actively network or send messages. These are normally the type of objections that I hear in these lectures about why people are not actively building connections and networking. So first one is building authentic connections. There's a lot of the times this fear of just reaching out to someone and suddenly he will consider us as very targeted on the prize and not interested in them. Then another big fear is maintaining consistency. So it's very hard, okay? It's very difficult to maintain a large network. That's why I also use Dex CRM. And expanding beyond the comfort zone, which is a lot of the time sending out the message on LinkedIn or Facebook or even making a phone call. And a lot of the times it's the what's in it for them. Okay, a lot of the times people are afraid of actually reaching out to executives, to powerful people, people that have been there, done that, because they're afraid that they will not get answered, or they don't understand why should people help them. Okay, these are usually the main fears around networking, and we'll tackle them a bit later on. Okay, but mostly a lot of the people that you will encounter are happy to help. From what I've seen, from what people that I work with have seen, from my friends, from reaching out to a bunch of people like that, most people are happy to help. You just need to make sure that you help them help you, and you send out a very laser focused, very targeted message, hopefully by using a mutual connection. Okay, so what do we do to actually start building our network today? What can we do today or tomorrow? So the first thing to do is, what are the top 2 to 3 pillars? Our why, okay? What do we want people to say about us, about our startup? Right now, people have very two separate different individuals. You have your online presence and you have your physical presence. You have yourself. And right now, people need to understand that if you are not actively aware of what you're presenting to the audience on social media, on LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, whatever, you are actively giving away opportunities. Okay, if you're not active on social, you are actively giving away on opportunities. And active doesn't necessarily mean only to upload posts. It does, of course, but this is only some part of it. It means also interacting and engaging with other people's content. Okay, so first thing is your why. Your why usually needs to include what your startup is all about. Obviously, you want to be perceived as a domain expert in your field, but you also want to be perceived as someone with maybe like interesting life, maybe with family, maybe with a lot of hobbies. Okay, it's up to you to decide. So this is the first thing. To do that, I strongly suggest start with why. Simon Sinek. It's like a couple of minutes video on YouTube. It shows you the 3 circles of how, what, and why. I will send it later in the materials. I strongly recommend watching it. Then the third tip that you can start doing is finding a niche and start posting regularly on 2 platforms. LinkedIn is a must. Okay, LinkedIn must be one of those platforms, and hopefully the second one could be Facebook, because Facebook communities nowadays is very, very, very relevant for startups in. But it could also be, for example, Instagram or WhatsApp for communities. But LinkedIn should definitely be one of the communities that you're posting in. So again, just an example on myself. When I've been working at PM, I wanted to be perceived as both like a fintech expert, but also a sales leader and sales expert. So I posted 2-3 times a week, and I constantly posted on those 2 different topics: fintech leader, sales leader. Okay, and I was constantly posting on LinkedIn and Facebook. Facebook, again, mostly communities. So in Israel, I know there are a couple of amazing communities. One, for example, it's called Startup for Startups by Monday. It's a very, very relevant, interesting communities for startups. Four, as I said, post regularly to build your social presence. And tip 5, which is very important, interact with your future network. Okay, so you want to found a startup, you want to build a startup, you want to already interact with future clients, employees, maybe even in angel investors or stuff like that. You want to start connecting with these people on LinkedIn. You want to start talk the talk. You want to be connected, for instance, with your hopefully future employees, future clients, future co-founder, whatever, before you actually start your startup. And interact means connecting on LinkedIn, but also building your social presence. How do you do it? You post regularly on your agenda, but you're also engaging with other people's posts, and you post in communities, for example. And as we said, You want to be out there. You want people to know you without actually know you. So I've been building this networking method, and I've been giving lectures on networking in a few different places. And I live in Tel Aviv, which is a very, very small city eventually, and you meet friends all day long. And I constantly meet people from high school that haven't seen me, for instance, I don't know, for over a decade, but they actually know that right now I'm doing networking stuff. Okay, so they don't know exactly what I'm doing, but usually when I'm seeing someone I haven't seen in 10 years, when I see them on the street in Tel Aviv, because I'm posting online on Facebook and LinkedIn, they immediately asking, how is the networking stuff going? Okay, this way I'm exposing myself to a lot of different new opportunities. And I want people to see this side of me. It's much easier to get scale instead of just talking to people one-on-one. Okay, so what can you do to build your future network and your future career path? So you want to make a list of a target list, a list of contributors to your future step of your career. It could be to found a startup, it could be to manage people, it could be whatever. If you don't know what you want to do next, surround yourself with people that are already doing some of the possibilities for your future step, okay? But let's say that you want to start your startup, so you want to make a list, a top target list of contributors to your startups. Again, it could be domain experts in the industry that you want to start a startup in. It could be consultants, could be the first design partners, could be the first employees or a co-founder. It could be the first maybe investors that you want to start speaking to about what you're going to build, okay? And you want to start interacting with them. You want to challenge them, and you want to make sure that you have a list of top 15 influencers, okay? How do you find this list? From your network. Your network consists of people that you worked with, studied with, co-founded startups with, had dinners with, whatever. Normally, to most people, an interaction ends up in getting coffee, and that's that. Then maybe a couple of years later, you would remember this one person that you once had coffee with, and you would try to open a door that is now blocked. Okay, so what can you do? You can find someone in your network that can get you in touch with someone that you want to reach. So just an example, you are now the CEO and co-founder, and maybe a high school friend of yours knows personally the partner of your future VC or a design partner. Maybe your best friends are friends with a top CEO that can help you and consult. Okay, maybe someone that you worked with in the past can help you and recommend the CTO. But you will never, ever, ever be able to know these things if you don't monitor, build, and maintain your network. Okay, and again, how do we do it? We make sure that we map out our network. LinkedIn is not good enough for that. It's just one angle, but you can use Dex. I can also send later a webinar on Dex. Okay. You want to make sure that you build this network and constantly manage it. And it's much easier to do it by posting on social media and interacting in communities. Okay. Okay, so what do we do? As another example, we can join communities and go to meetups. We can start with people that we know. So we want to start a startup in fintech or in retail tech. What can we do? Immediately, the first thing that we do, we can think of 4 to 5 people that are domain experts in retail or fintech, send them messages and ask to speak, okay? What we can also do is we can sign up to communities, retail tech communities or fintech communities in Israel, and we can start going to webinars, events. We can start with people that we actually already know or worked with, and then start thinking about the rest of the people. We want to also make sure that once we build out our list of top contributors, we want to include local experts. For instance, if you're based in Israel and you want to find a job in Israel, you need to find the top leaders in your domain in Israel, but you also want to connect and follow top leaders in the US, if that's your target market eventually. Okay, so you want to make sure that you have a combined list of top 15 people that are domain experts in both areas, your local market and your target market. So up until this point, we spoke about what is networking, why should we actively network and build our network, and some practical tips on how we can create an impact, post, and send out messages, okay? Okay, and now what I want everyone to do is also to measure and make sure that you treat networking as a day-to-day task. Expanding your network should be a daily task, something that you do every day and not only when you're looking for something specific. Okay, so what can you do? You can think about creating 2 new connections a month or a week, again, depending on how busy you are. But you want to make sure that you create new connections and network in your domain. Okay, so again, if you build fintech or retail tech, you want to create new connections in this domain. Then what you can do is you can maintain 2 existing connections per week or per month. How do you maintain them? Again, you either post in different communities or you can use triggers, which is number 4. We're going to speak about that in a second. Okay, tip number 3 is post once a week. It's very, very difficult to think about what you want to post about in weekdays and in work times. So I strongly suggest that you sit on the weekend for like an hour or 2, and then you play your weekly Gantt and what you're going to post about. Okay, it's much, much, much easier just writing down everything on the weekend instead of just trying to post quickly on a weekday. Okay. Tip number 4, which is if you take one thing from this entire lecture, this entire thing, this is what you should take. Okay, you should take what's called triggers. What is triggers? You want to make sure that you maintain your relationships, but not only by posting on social and not only by drinking coffee. You want to also make sure that you reach out to certain people at certain times to, for instance, congratulate them on a new job or on a new funding round. You also want to make sure that you engage with people's posts. Okay, for example. So you want to do that. You also want to, for example, maybe say happy birthday. But just an example again about myself. I have a bunch. I'm a huge Harry Potter fan. I'm crazy about Harry Potter. Just an example. And a lot of the times I encounter these reels on Instagram. I have a group of like 10 to 15 friends that I just share the Harry Potter reels with. This is how I'm maintaining the relationship with those people. But you can do it for every hobby and different angles that you have. Okay. And one last thing that you want to measure is you want to attend one event per month. Okay. Every month you want to attend at least one event, sorry, that's about your future startup. What you also want to do when you eventually get coffee with someone is always, always, always leave them with a better feeling and food for thought, and always leave them with a smile after you have met them. How do you do that? Again, it's a bit easier for me because I'm like normally curious. Most people sometimes are not, but you can just ask questions. Be interested in people. People are not actually accustomed to people actually listening to them, because most people sit with someone and are listening to mostly themselves. So if you ask away questions, and by the way, if you actually follow up, okay, so if you say that you do something and you immediately do it after meetings, you already do what 90% of the people will not do. So if you say that you will send an email the same day, send it. If you say that you're going to connect them to someone, connect them. Okay. If you just say something that you are actually delivering on it, you are already better than 90% of the people. Also, remember stuff that they told you. Okay, it could be about the house that they're thinking about buying. It could be about them getting married. It could be about their first child. It could be whatever. But remember stuff that they actually told you. How? Listen to them. And if you don't have a good memory, just write it down in your CRM. Okay. But it's very, very important that you show that you listen to people in your meetings. Okay, so before I show you the resource page, how can you start immediately? Think about 10 people that you want to chat with and why. If you ever had this moment where you just thought about someone from your past and you say, oh, what's going on with X or Y? Normally, most people would let this thought just slide away. What I do, I immediately write who I want to speak with and I just send them a message asking what's going on. You can do it. You can just adjust it. Okay, so 10 people that you want to chat with, why them? That's the first thing. 2, maybe you have one person that you want to meet in this room. Okay, maybe you know the details of the attendees and you want to meet someone here or someone that you just spoke to. Then, once you prepare to reach out to someone, you want to make sure that you have maybe one ask to ask them, and if needed, one suggestion that you can help them with. Okay. And maybe this will help as well. So the last part, how to start in the resource page. So first thing is Dex. It's a personal CRM. I don't know what I would do without Dex right now, honestly. If needed, I can send a short webinar that I recorded. It's like 10 minutes on how to use Dex as a personal CRM. If needed, I can send it. Second thing is you can watch Start with Why of Simon Sinek. You can also sign up and read YC blog, Y Combinator blog for future startup ideas. Then I don't know if anyone here is a believer, but my personal Bible is Atomic Habits by James Clear. It's the best thing that I've ever read. And if you can just read one thing, read Atomic Habits. It will help you implement new habits that you've never managed to implement, whether it's working out, whatever, but mostly it would also help you treat networking as a hobby or as a habit, okay? Then what you can also do is you can sign up to 30 Minutes President Club, which is the best sales blog that exists in the world right now, in my opinion. It helps you get precise sales tactics and messaging that you can start implementing immediately on how you can sell. And I think that's pretty much it. Actually, there is one more thing that I want to show you. I will cancel my share screen for a moment. I will see if there are any questions. And if not, I will show one more thing. So any questions at all?
Question. First, if you can, first, thanks a lot. Then if you can share the DEX movie, that would be great. And the question is, how do you classify, I assume using DEX, but with any other tool, who can help you with what? It's a tough issue, labeling, you know, I tried many systems, none is perfect. So wondering what you're using.
Yeah, so it's a perfect question, really, because it's such a big challenge. I can tell you what I'm doing. So I'm doing like a bunch of things. One, I'm using TimeOS. I don't know if anyone knows it, but it's a call recorder. It doesn't necessarily record the call so much as just it does like a summary in AI about your call. And then what you can do is you can take the AI summary and immediately push it into GPT to get an even shorter summary of what you spoke about. And then just push it into Dex as a note and always do a follow-up for yourself. So, and then what you can also do is use tags. You have AI tags now in Dex. So Dex can we can immediately with AI recognize tags on the people that you are in a relationship with. But you can also build groups for yourself based on the things that you know that you're going to do in the near future. So again, just an example, okay? So I met with like an angel investor a couple of months ago that potentially is going to invest in my startup, my future startup. But they can also invest in one of the startups that I'm working with right now. Okay, so what I did to label him. First, Dex can pull all of your LinkedIn connections. Every time you connect to someone on Dex, it will immediately pull LinkedIn connection and push it into Dex. That's the first thing. Second thing, I met with him. On the same day, I wrote the comments on his contact on Dex. If it's a face-to-face meeting, I'm writing with a notebook. By the way, that's another big tip. Don't use your phone, don't use the computer, use a notebook. Okay, it shows people that you actually listen to them. So write on a notebook a couple of comments, push it into Dex. Option number 2, if it's on Zoom, take the time OS, push the comments into Dex. That's one thing you can do. Then I have groups, and I have a group that's called Angel Investors. I would push him to a group over there, okay? Then I would use the AI tags in Dex. By just using AI, it will immediately use the tags to show me what they invest in. FinTech, food tech, sales tech, whatever. Okay, and I'm writing a comment for myself to ask him about something unique that he mentioned in 2 months. Okay, so this whole thing I would do to an angel that I met. Again, we had nothing to follow up back then, but probably in a couple of months to a couple of years, there's going to be a lot we can do together. Okay, so I hope this helps. Again, just as an example. By the way, this is what you also want to do with triggers, right? So I wouldn't necessarily meet this angel investor for coffee every month because we have nothing to speak about, for instance. But if I see now on LinkedIn that he invested in a new company, I want to send congratulations and maybe I can help somehow, right? Just an idea. Any other questions? If not, I will share maybe like one last slide that I want to show. Okay, so let me share the slide. Okay, can you see the slide? Okay, so this slide actually summarizes the steps to interaction. Usually, again, on LinkedIn, but it could also be, for example, Facebook or something like that, how you want to interact. So first thing, you want to find a mutual connection, again, if possible. How do you do it? Research. Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram even. There are now tools that are helping you map out your network like Dex, but you can also use, for instance, a solution that's called Intel AI if you work in B2B. Intel actually helps you uncover opportunities that lay in your network. So it helps you map out champions, for example, that moves between companies and that you've already sold to once in your career. So again, just an example. If you find or don't find a mutual connection, it doesn't matter. Just connect to someone on LinkedIn. And then before you ask anything at all, try to challenge them on something they wrote or give them value. Okay, so how it looks. So you connected to someone, and instead of just immediately asking what you want from them, interact with a post. Like a post they wrote about and comment and say something clever. Maybe ask a question, maybe say an insight, whatever. Challenge them on something they wrote, okay? Only then, after you've been in touch, you gave value, you posted and interacted on a couple of posts maybe, you can ask to chat. How? Hopefully, again, by finding a connection to praise you. If not, you can just reach out immediately and ask whatever you want to ask. Now, the first time you ask for something, you don't want to make it too big. You want to ask for something simple. Just an example, you will reach out to a super busy executive or an angel investor or a partner in a VC. They are busy people. If you ask for 60 minutes drinking coffee or a Zoom call of their time without explaining what it is about, they will never ever speak to you, okay? But if you request 10 minutes for a quick phone call because you are starting your startup and this is their domain, maybe they will say yes, okay, and jump on a call. So why are you reaching out to them? What is the ask? Make it very simple for them to help you. And then adjust the ask, as we said. Is it a call? Maybe they can help you over a message, okay? Adjust it. Then what is super, super, super crucial is the follow-up. Follow-up whether they didn't answer to your request or follow-up whether you already had your first initial meeting. And you said to them that your one-pager is not ready, but you will send it to them once it is ready, okay? You have to do it. Mark it in your calendar, write it down, make it a task, make it obvious and simple for yourself to actually send whatever you told them that you're going to send. Add a reminder for yourself, okay? Then what else you can do is after a week or 2 weeks or a month or whatever, you can use a trigger. As I said, birthday, raising funds, changing jobs, whatever to connect, okay? And then you want to try and interact again. It could be in both cases, in case they answered, and then you want to follow up again just to maintain the relationship. But it could also be a trigger to connect in case they didn't answer, and then you want to try again, okay? Now, what's important to remember throughout this process is, as I said, and it's here in the green boxes, what is something or someone that you have in common? How do they like to chat and be approached? Some people hate phone calls. Some people hate WhatsApp. Some people love LinkedIn. Some people would kill you if you remind something to them every day. Some people would be glad that you did it. Okay, so you have no idea how to communicate with someone. Just ask them. And then if you can understand what's important to them and you can act on that and help them with whatever is bothering them right now, it's very, very crucial that you do so because they will remember you, okay? And they will try to help you and be willing to connect with you down the line. That's it. That's the last slide that I wanted to show. I hope that you took something. You can let me know if you did. I'll be here for a couple of more minutes for questions. And thank you, everyone.
Do we have any additional questions before we close?
No, but thank you very much.
Thank you.
Well, Itai, on behalf of Paul Mirage and the Mirage Institute, I highly appreciate you taking the time to enlighten our Mirage tribe. Everyone, thank you so much for joining today. Always a pleasure to see your faces, and I look forward to seeing you next week.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you, Itai.
Have a good evening. Bye-bye.